welcome to another Disney Copycat Recipe video here on Dole Wishes and Castle Dreams. I'm Castle Karam, so glad you could join us today. We are going to be making a fan favorite. I'm surprised I haven't made it yet because it's so popular, but there's just so many good recipes at Disney, am I right? There's just so many things that we want to eat all the time. I don't know if you're like me, but that's the way it is for me. And I know a lot of times I can't get to the parks, especially not as much as I want to. So I like to do these copycat recipe videos so I can have a little taste of Disney at home. Today we're gonna head to the Kona Cafe in the Polynesian Resort. We have done a recipe from there before, but it's just because they have so much good food. So if you want to check that out, you can scroll through our treats and eats videos. We've got a whole playlist just for those. We are going to get started by putting up the ingredient list for this delicious dish. In case you hadn't been able to figure it out yet, it is the Tonga Toast. Again, it is amazing. If you've had it before, you're going to want to make it. If you haven't had it before, you're gonna want to try it. So if you need a little more time with those ingredients, just hit the pause button, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. To begin, I want to start our recipe with our sprinkling of pixie dust. What this is something we do for each recipe video that's just a little bit extra to the recipe, adding just a little more magic, kind of like Disney does for our lives. And today's sprinkling of pixie dust is this homemade sourdough bread. Okay, so this recipe can be as easy or as complicated as you want to make it. I say complicated because sourdough is kind of difficult to make. It actually comes from a starter, which is just a little bit of the ingredients mixed together and then fermented for a while in order to create the gas that they need for the bread to rise. It doesn't use yeast, so it can take a while to make. I think this took me about 2.5 days with feeding the starter and getting it to rise and all that stuff. So you can also buy a loaf at your local grocery store. And when I say loaf, I mean not the pre-sliced kind. Let me show you. So you want something that looks like this, because a lot of sourdough bread comes in actually a round loaf, but you want the oblong loaf. If you get the store-bought kind, it's gonna save you a lot of time and make this recipe super easy to make. But we're gonna use my homemade loaf. I'm gonna start by slicing my loaf. Now the reason you need a loaf and not the pre-sliced bread is because of the size of our slices. I'm just gonna cut the end off. Okay, set that aside. Now you want to do about a 3-inch thick slice. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what makes it Tonga Toast. Okay, so we're going to do about 3-inch thick slices. And I'll show you why in just a minute, unless you already know. If you know, you know. All right, so then what we're gonna do is we're gonna need our bananas. We've got our bananas peeled. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it in half this way, and then I'm gonna cut it lengthwise in half as well for both bananas. And we're gonna use half of a banana for each slice of bread. This should make about 4 servings. And then comes the tricky part. It's a little tricky, but I have faith in you that you can do it. Once our banana sliced, we're gonna go back to our bread and we're gonna kind of cut into the top, right? And what we wanna do is we wanna kind of make a little pocket in our bread. So we're not gonna go all the way through. I'm just gonna try and pull out enough room in my bread. So I kind of did like a wedge, I guess. Maybe a little bit thicker than a wedge, right? Kind of just scrape out that middle part Oh, this bread smells so good. I can't wait to eat it. Okay, so now see I've got like a little pocket, and I'm just gonna kind of carefully shove my banana in there. Right, so, and it's gonna look kind of like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do it with the rest of my slices. Got my toast waiting for me over by the stove because that's where we're gonna do our step after we mix our batter ingredients. We are going to start with a cup and a third of milk. Okay, and then we are going to add our sugar, which is just a tablespoon. We're going to add a fourth of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay. And then 4 eggs. And we're going to just mix it until it's a nice even consistency. I've got it all mixed, and you'll notice my bowl is very large, and this is because you need a bowl that's big enough that you can actually dunk your toast in without having to kind of cram it in there, so you want a nice big bowl to do that. And now for the next step, we're gonna head over to the stove. To cook your French toast, you're gonna need about a quart of canola oil. You're gonna heat it up in a pan that has high sides so it doesn't splatter everywhere. Frying foods can get a little messy. You could also do it in a deep fryer. You're gonna heat it up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got my candy thermometer in there to keep an eye on that. Just remember when you put that toast in, it will drop the temperature pretty quickly, so you're gonna wanna keep an eye on that. But before you put it in, you're gonna wanna dip it into our batter. Make sure both sides get nice and thickly coated, then drain off any excess and put it into your pan. You'll cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes on both sides until it's a nice golden brown color. Then you'll take it out and put it on your plate with some paper towels to help drain a little bit of that extra grease. Let's get back to our counter space so we can do the final step of this delicious recipe. And last but certainly not least, we gotta sugar these bad boys up. So I've got my 3/4 cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I'm gonna put it into my plate so it's nice and wide and I can really dip this in there. And then I'm gonna take my my toast and just kind of smush it all over cinnamon sugar goodness. Okay, and then put it on my plate for serving. Let's just get all these done. How's that sound? Looks so good. And you want to do it while it's still kind of warm, maybe a little bit still going with the juices from the frying, so it helps the cinnamon and sugar stick better. Last one. I don't know if you saw, I had a little mishap with one of my Tonga toasts. So sad. So it just kind of broke apart. Like this bread, you have to be very gentle with it. But that's okay. I'm still gonna eat it because it still tastes delicious, even if it doesn't look as pretty as these ones do. And that's okay, because cooking isn't all about looking pretty. It's all about tasting good. So here it is, our finished product. Isn't it beautiful, Tonga toast? Now you can serve it with some powdered sugar or maple syrup, both. I don't know, go crazy. Maybe some fruit, some other fruit. I've got some strawberries I think I might add, but that's it. It's pretty simple. If you don't make your own bread, you can just get it at the store, and it's really easy to throw together. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you as a part of our YouTube channel. We've got lots of other great recipes like this one, so yummy. For those times where you're really craving Disney but you can't get to the parks, we tell you how to make these amazing dishes at home. And we also do some Disney crafts. We also do some tips and tricks for visiting the parks as well, along with some giveaways and other fun videos for our trips and stuff like that. Be sure you tap that bell too so you don't miss any of the episodes when they come out. We're so glad you stopped by, and we hope to see you real soon.